I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Lake Mills City Council for October 20th, 2015. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The roll call, please.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mrs. Fritsch? Here. Mr. Kirkovich?
Here.
Mr. Shar?
Here.
And Mr. Grundon previously informed staff that he would not be here this evening.
Okay, corrections and approval of the City Council minutes for October 6, 2015. Do I hear a motion of adoption?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Please call a voice vote.
Mrs. Fritsch? Aye. Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Abstain.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Correspondence, we'll start with Mrs. Fritz.
No public comment. However, I do want to just mention that wanted to thank the city staff for getting the markings done at the post office. Looks real nice. We now have a sign on a pole and yellow stripes on the concrete.
Great.
So nobody can say, I didn't know. And also, I saw that they got the street markings done for the handicapped markings on the Commons Park. They're not done yet with the handicapped access ramp area, but that's also coming along. So our ordinances are in effect. Yay.
One comment is that they were hoping to have that concrete poured today, but Schweigert got another big contract and won't be in until next week, so.
Okay, well, let's hope the weather stays warm enough to do it.
Yep.
So,
Steve?
I answered a few questions on road repairs, just, I guess, a basic conversation about why we do the things we do, and that was about it for the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Mike?
Been quiet on my front, no calls, emails.
I had a comment from a resident of Woodland Beach, and I think I talked to you, Steve, about it a couple of weeks ago. The road area in front of his driveway is completely disintegrated. I went there and looked, and he was not exaggerating. So if it's possible, if we could look at that, I don't know if we got it in this year's budget or not, but maybe there's something that could be done.
We
Just
couldn't
temporarily.
even, I don't think we could even get them in if we did have money.
Okay.
We do have where we're looking at doing some small patches ourselves, so we'll look at it, but there are a few areas like that. Diane brought up a couple that I keep mentioning, and so we'll look at them, try and see how we can fix them, but
It's
I don't
the
know
first
that.
house on the corner there of South Main and Woodland Beach. It's very bad. Also, I got a letter from attorneys Newberg, Griggs, Sweet, Smith concerning the fire contract for town of Aston. I think, did you get that?
Yeah, that was notification to Jefferson that they were
Right.
terminating their
Yeah.
contract and going with the city of Lake Mills. We have signed the contract with them, so as of January 1st, we will be servicing a larger portion of the town of Aston.
Very well. And that's all I have, and brings us to item 5, questions and public comment, and seeing none, we'll go ahead and close that. Go to item 6, the city manager's report. Steve?
Well, I had the dashboard on this month. Are there any questions on that? I'll note the water one was frightening.
Yeah.
The rest of them look great. The third quarter budgets, both capital and general fund budget, which were fine. The police department report, the Main Street letter to the city, which I don't think is an issue because it's been in the budget from the first day, and the Eagle Scout letter, which we have already prepared a plaque.
Okay.
The First Impressions meeting was held, and I know Diane was there. Ed walked in for a little while. You were there too, right, Mike?
Yep, I was, Steve.
I was there
So
too.
was Steve.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
You sat right next
I
to
was,
me.
yeah, next to you
Yeah.
over there, so.
I overlooked you.
Yeah, actually, you probably did.
It was so quiet you missed him.
There's a rumor going around that the city's buying this CPN site. And there could be two reasons behind that. One is we have discussed some of the options we might take at the Economic Development Commission in regard to redeveloping that site. The other one is we have had a business who is interested in the site and has asked the city to consider being part of the title trail, which then helps them clean up the title from environmental issues. And so we are looking into that. May come back with a report. They may go away. I haven't heard anything.
Which site is that?
The CPN, the old Crapaco site,
Okay, okay, yeah.
yeah, on East Lake Street.
Mm-hmm.
We also got notice from the DNR that both those sites need to be finalized. So they need to start working on that. We have historically worked with both property owners to help them get their reports completed and meet their requirements. They do have obligations, though it's not ours solely to take care of, but I'm willing to work with them and continue to move that forward. You probably noticed some staking on East Lake Park Place as we move forward with designing that street. We want to have at the Public Works Board meeting the preliminary special assessment meeting, which we historically have one there that's just kind of a mock special assessment hearing to get all the information we need, because you will actually be holding the final special assessment hearing sometime either in late January, February. Most of that will be the school district and the DNR. But one of the issues that we have to work through is notification of the DNR and then how long they have before they determine whether they're going to pay it or not. We got notification, and I sent that to all of you about the water rate. Okay. We just completed another dam inspection. And actually all it said was, this is a letter saying, we've been working on replacing it. You've got all the details in the drawings. Consider that an inspection, and they accepted it. The construction we are going out for bids in January. We expect the construction early next year. So there will be a lot of work going on that dam, which was a question that DOT had that affected their design concept. So Wallace Park parking lot is being paved next Monday. Which is a 3-year project. We used the county to do that, and they've been telling us for 3 years now that they would pave that, and they finally got it done. The American Way water main will start November 1st, or that week. So first, second in there. We received our lead and copper consent order from the DNR. They've given us one and taken it back, and given us one and taken it back, and now we got another one. And I guess we'll see how it goes. It's pretty much the same as the previous ones. We have to replace 3 lead services a year. We're already like 18 services ahead. I think when we do South Main Street, we'll replace like enough to take us past the number we told them we had. We replaced one on Madison Street this summer at Joe Jancy's. We replaced one on Mulberry at Gary Olson's. And we replaced a couple other ones on Browns Court. So there were several that we've already taken care of. A lot of them have been done in past projects that we can get credit for moving forward. And almost every project that we're doing in the next couple of years, Mulberry and Main Street will incorporate that. East Lake Park Place will not. Cross connection notices. Did you note that you got a cross connection letter? when you got your bill this month? Yeah.
Oh, it pays it.
There was a notice about cross-connection issues in there to tell you what to look for and what to pay attention to. This one was specifically about the pull-out fixtures in the sinks. If you pull it out and leave it setting in the water, it can feed dirty water back into the clean water system. So you need a cross-connection to keep a cross-connection fixture to keep that from occurring. All new installations require that, but sometimes, you know, a homeowner does their own installation and they don't put that in, and they can create a cross-connection problem. The Commons handicap space, it has been painted, it has been prepared to have the concrete poured. Just need to get someone there to pour the concrete. The Culver's conditional use permit will be on the November Plan Commission meeting, and we will start the TID amendment process probably the second meeting in November. So those are projects that will be moving forward. Brush pickup November 2nd starts November 2nd. There is information on the website about that. You'll want to go check because there's a limited time period when we will do brush pickup, and there are very specific conditions on how brush pickup occurs. Leaf pickup has already started, and it generally runs until the leaves are picked up or it snows heavy. Please don't put your brush in with the leaves, because the leaf vac can't pick up the brush, and if it does, it destroys the fan blade and ruins our leaf vac. And that's all I have for a report. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
All right, moving on, acceptance of committee minutes. I have the Public Works Board from September 8th, 2015. That'll go on record. Item 8, council business, board committee appointments. Misty, would you read those? The first one?
For the board committee appointments?
Yeah.
I've got Blaze Knipple, and that's for city council student ad hoc position.
Do I hear a motion of acceptance of that appointment?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
And call a vote, please.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0.
Can I ask Steve to tell the public, since they weren't on before when we talked about a little bit about Blaze and his qualifications to be the high school rep on the board?
Well, I sent a request to have students apply for City Council, Public Works Board, Planning Commission, and Economic Development. Blaze was the first one to apply. He is the sophomore student council president. He's very active in a lot of activities at the school and in his church. He's been a longtime resident of Lake Mills, and he's very interested. His long-term goal is to, sorry about this, be a lawyer. And go
And
to
he's
school.
coming to the right place.
Yeah, and go to school for poli-sci and policy analysis. So I felt that this was that maybe the council was the best option for him. And he's very active, and he likes to talk.
How long is this appointment for? I don't remember.
It's generally while they're in school.
Okay.
So Blaze could actually be on for 3 years if he chose. I guess we'll see what happens. Most of the time you see juniors and seniors, and so they're generally a year or two. But Blaze is a sophomore, so he's got some time to be on.
All right.
All right, congratulations, Blaze. We'll see you at the future council meeting. Miscellaneous licenses, and I think these are all tavern operators
Yep.
licenses?
We've got 2 tavern operators license, Sue Noyes and Brian Schimmel.
And do we hear a motion of acceptance?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
And call the vote.
Mr. Shar,
Aye.
Mr. Foster,
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch,
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0.
Item C, we have representatives from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. They're going to give us a little briefing on the South Main Street public information meeting, so.
Yeah, thanks for letting us come. I just wanted you guys to see, we're not going to show you everything that we're going to present tomorrow, but just to get an idea in case questions come up or just so you know what's going on. Our main objective is to show you what's changed in the last year. We've met with Steve and his engineers a lot, worked with them a lot, and we came up with a construction sequencing plan so that the entire Main Street isn't tore up at the same time. We aim to start in the downtown area with a priority between Water and Veterans to give the fire department access as quick as possible. And then we'll get through that, we're hoping by mid-July. And then the next section will go from Veterans to, we kept changing, the Eastlake Park Place. So we will not go into the intersection of Eastlake Park Place, but keep just north of that, and that will go from about April till August. And then the next, they could all be going on at the same time, but the point is to keep things moving. So as the utilities get placed and as the pavement gets put down, they'll slowly start moving south. So eventually more and more of the street will be open. And then we'll go in front of the schools from Eastlake Park Place to Woodland Beach Drive from early June, and we'll put it in the contract that they must be done by September 1st in that area. And then the last section is on the south end, which we have going from, they'll probably start in there about July and won't finish until November. So that was just something that we're going to present tomorrow. We're still in preliminary, but it's something that we think will work for the city to, it's still going to be a tough year, but it will get people access in and out. And we know from working with Steve in the city that access on the south side is going to be very tough. So management people kind of came up with a plan to keep access going at Woodland Beach and, not Woodland Beach, Columbus and Sandy Beach Road. So we have a little, there we go. We're going to have a temporary lane on the south side from the end of the project to Pinnacle so that traffic, not trucks or no through traffic, but just that local traffic can get to those businesses on the south side. They'll be able to get to Sandy Beach Road and Columbus so that they can get in and out and then go on to Pinnacle from there. That's a new concept that we didn't have last year, that we were working with the city just to try to keep people happy and get them to their businesses without, everyone will be able to get to their residents and businesses. It'll be rough though. It'll be gravel and not smooth. So this will make it a little smoother for the higher amounts of traffic on the south side there. And then we also wanted to address the downtown area because I know that was a big issue, people concerned about getting to the downtown. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to get the downtown finished early. It will definitely be finished by mid-July. Hopefully we can get it done a little earlier. This is a picture of what was done last year in Beaver Dam, where they kept the sidewalks next to the buildings open with safety fence, did all the work on the roadway in the middle. And then when the road was open, and this is only half of the sidewalk, so then the other half was the new half was being constructed next to the road. So then when they worked on the sidewalk right next to the building, the pedestrians were on the new sidewalk next to the road, and then they would have pathways to the businesses so that there was always front door access to all the businesses in downtown. So those are some of the big things we're going to hit on. We're going to hit on some of the other things that were discussed and were alternatives last year that maybe we're heading in a certain direction now. We are going to talk about the trees, and I have comments and emails and phone calls from people constantly about the trees. We know that you guys want to save them, and we've looked at so many different ways. Upper management, administration has gotten involved. I think the only way to salvage trees would be to take out all parking in the residential area. And even that wouldn't salvage all of the trees because some of them are just so close to the road and the sidewalk, but it might salvage some. But in the past year, the city has run surveys. You guys know that because it was from you. But this is what I want to present to them tomorrow, that we've conducted surveys, and these are the results that we get. We have a lot of comments, and when these comments go to our managers and our administration, they take them very, very seriously. So a lot of people know about this project, and a lot of people know that that we're not upset. So, and if anybody is for the project, we would encourage those kind of comments too, because if administration comes and sees overwhelming residential not for the project, the DOT administrators will do something about that. And that would salvage the trees. It would, we could mill and overlay the pavement and you get a nice surface without reconstructing the pavement. What it would hurt would be your sanitary and water main, because we wouldn't be able to dig that deep. And with the mill and overlay, it's just scraping the top of the pavement off and putting new pavement on. Those are decisions that are made. There's a lot of financial money going here and there. People are losing projects that are good just because funding is scarce. So we just want to tell everybody that tomorrow, that we know that they really take your comments seriously. So go ahead and comment. The bulk of tomorrow's presentation will be from the Wisconsin Historical Society, because in the environmental process, 2 districts were declared to be historical. So Peggy from the Historical Society is going to present to the residents the benefits of being listed as a National Register. I think pretty much that's about it. Hopefully we can get through it quickly, because I know that people will have a lot of questions, and we want to encourage comments and discussion. And if there's any questions that you guys have, or anything you want us specifically to address or talk about tomorrow, or any confusion?
When you're talking about management pulling the funds and just milling it, and because of the comments, how's that?
That'd be terrible for us.
Yeah,
We have a undersized water main that's got lead joints.
right.
We have a sanitary sewer that is at the end of its life. If we had to try and extend that for another, and it doesn't meet the needs that we have on the south side, so it would be a terrible option for us to have a mill and overlay and pull all the funds. The first thing that you look at when there's a street project is the drainage. The street's drainage is terrible.
Right.
Why would you spend any money on a street that doesn't have any stormwater drainage? And when we talked about it, and I look at all the construction options and how much is in the street, because you're going to have to construct around your existing water and sewer and put in new water and sewer and storm sewer, and then either take the old out or abandon it in place. That, I don't care how narrow you make that street, you're going to tear the roots of those trees up. The only option is that be able to save some trees, in my opinion, is take more right-of-way. Well, how much does that add to the cost of the project? And the state's already saying, this is what we have, this is what you're going to get, and if you don't like it, we'll take the money back and give it to somebody else who will take what we give them.
Right.
And we wanted this project done in 2004? If they pull this project and mill and overlay, we're out another 20 years. Curb will be terrible. We'll end up paying all the cost of the curb and all the cost of the sidewalks. We'll pay for all the cost of the asphalt again anyways, because we'll have to cut it up and put in water and sewer. Then you'll have a mill and overlay with patches all the way down through it.
Right. Well, hopefully.
That's a terrible decision not to do the project.
Right, I agree.
It
agree.
takes a lot for the DOT to pull after we've gotten this far. But what's happening is that we're getting constant emails and phone calls. So, and you know, it might just be a few vocal people, or it is awful to lose all those trees, but you know, you have to see the big picture, and we have to start. The environmental report has to include the public opinion and the public involvement and what the community wants. That's part of the process. And as that gets signed and approved by management, then we can go ahead. But if they are seeing a negative, that the community doesn't want it, then that's when that will happen, so.
Well, just, you know, the plan was that, you know, nobody wants to see the trees go, but then on the other hand, then we were gonna put in larger trees, not just little saplings. We were gonna, actually put in larger,
Where they would let us.
yeah,
as
where they
far
would
as
let us, and then and the trees would be moved back, so in the future, we wouldn't have that same problem, so, you know, hopefully clear minds will see the big picture, and knowing that this is a project that has to be done whether we like it or not. The sewer and the water has to be replaced one way or another, so.
This is you know, for us, South Main Street is the only through access. And so it's everybody's issue, so, you know, a lot of times being completely rational about a project in your front yard is tough.
Yep.
But how much it affects the rest of the residents of the city, it could be pretty substantial in this case. It's not like we're going to pick an alternate route. And water and sewer issues are going to be even worse.
Right.
So
And we certainly don't want to bear all that cost of reconstruction on that new road, so,
another
Okay.
$3.5 million on top of what we have already.
yep,
Yeah. May I make a comment?
sure.
Two things. One, I think we all need to understand that we don't always like what needs to be done, but that's just kind of how life is. If we don't go with the project as is, we're going to, and then we wait till we have to do all this and pay for it ourselves, we're looking at major tax hikes in the city, because the cost of doing what we're doing with you all will be in our dollar instead of in the state dollar. And you can look at some hefty tax increases in the city of Lake Mills if we don't take this project. The other thing I wanted to mention is the year after this, in 2019, we have the redo of Mulberry Street. I live on Mulberry Street, so I know this is coming. It means I'm not going to be able to get into my house either. And we have another old street there. I mean, our water, our sewer, we don't have the stormwater either on Mulberry, just like on South Main. And it's going to be a mess. It's going to be an inconvenience. I'm not excited, and I don't get up in the morning and say, oh, gee, in 2019, my road's going to get ripped up. Yippee. You know, I don't say that, but it's going to be nice when it's done. It's going to increase the value of my property when it's done. And it's going to have to be one of those things we all have to live with. And South Main is the same kind of project. But, you know, it's not one of the things we love. But so.
Thank you, Diane.
I want to also, though, I have one other comment, and that is, I do want to thank the people in the city who have been concerned and have been putting forth information to you all, because it takes time to do that. It takes concern. It means you love your city, you love your trees, you love where you live, and we appreciate that. Sometimes we just can't have everything we want. But thank you to the people who have been.
The DOT
Involved.
appreciates it also. We encourage comments, and every comment that we get has been addressed and looked at. Unfortunately, we can't always give the answer that they're looking for.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yep, and that's
Look.
right, tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, right?
5 to 7, we'll have our presentation at 5:30.
And it's going to be here,
Downstairs.
downstairs.
Yep.
We're always wondering whether we were up or down here. Thank you for coming and giving up your evening.
Okay, let's go to item D, ordinance 1154, the 2016 general fund budget. This is the second reading. If you'd read the title, please.
Ordinance 1154, 2016 General Government Budget and Tax Levy Ordinance.
And 1154 will go on to the third reading at the next council meeting. Ordinance 1155, the 2016 capital budget. This is also the second reading. So Misty, if you'd read the title, please.
Ordinance 1155, 2016 Capital Budget.
And this will go on to the third reading at the next council meeting. Ordinance 1156, amending the tavern operator license fee and Class A liquor/beer license quotas. Misty, if you'd read that, please.
Ordinance 1156, amending tavern operator license fees and Class A liquor/beer license quotas. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin does ordain as follows. Section 1, Section 3-1-2-C, classes of licenses and fees of the Lake Mills Municipal Code is amended as follows. Operator's license, $25 for a 2-year license expiring June 30 on each odd-numbered year. Section 2, Section 3-1-2-E, liquor license quotas of the Lake Mills Municipal Code is amended by adding the following. E, license quotas. 1, retail Class B liquor license as provided in Section 125.51, Sub 4, Wisconsin Stats. 2, Class A liquor licenses shall not be issued at a rate that exceeds 1 license for every 1,000 in population or fraction thereof, as that number is provided periodically by the Wisconsin Department of Administration. 3, Class A beer licenses shall not be issued at a rate that exceeds 1 license for every 700 in population or fraction thereof, as that number is provided periodically by the Wisconsin Department of Administration. 4, if territory containing premises covered by a Class A liquor license or a Class B beer license is annexed into the city, and if the city's quota would not otherwise allow a Class A license for the premises, the city's quota is increased to include the license of each premises in the annexed territory. Section 3, this ordinance was sponsored by Council Representative Steve Kirkevich. Section 4, all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent with or contravening the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed. Section 5, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and publication as provided by law.
And let's see, I guess, Council, would you have anything to add to that?
Just to summarize it, the tavern operator's license fee has been $10 for many, many years, and that doesn't even cover the cost of the background check that the PD does on every application that they receive. So the recommendation is to increase it to $25, and that's not every year, it's every 2 years. And then under license quotas, we already have those license quotas that Misty read about, the 1,000 and the 700 in population for Class A. Those are homegrown license quotas. We're not required to have them. It's not state law that mandates them. It was a decision by the council a number of years ago to create those quotas on Class A licenses. So what this amendment would do would say essentially what the state statutes already say about Class B licenses, that if territory that has a Class A license is annexed to the city and we would otherwise not have room for that license under our existing Class A quota, this would increase our quota by that extra license. It goes along with what is already done for Class B. And Misty's done the lion's share of the work on this, so if you have any additional questions, Misty, I'm sure, would be happy to answer them.
Well, there was a good memo that accompanied that. Does anybody have any questions?
I do,
I do
but if you
too.
can go ahead first.
Okay. So I'm looking at some of the numbers in here, and we're talking about the amount it costs for the check of the criminal record, things like that. But nowhere in here do I see a total number of what it really costs us to do the full process. It shows time taken by an average person that's doing it. One thing I don't want us to do is to get in the business of doing this to make money. We shouldn't look at this as making money. We should break even on it. And that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see those numbers and see exactly what it takes to break even, and then maybe make that our number instead of just picking a number out of the air because the other cities are setting that number.
And I know that when I looked at it, I talked to the police department because they spend a lot of time on it. There's a lot of different hands that touch it, so it depends on who it is, and if you're looking for wage breakdown and all that, I can get a better idea for you. I know that just doing the amount of time for just a general one without any problems, without a memo from the city attorney, was about 45 minutes, so I was basing it about $20 for 45 minutes, and then the $7 for the background check, which actually goes to the Crime Information Bureau. Doesn't include any of the small amount of operating supplies, but that's why I just was kind of put a general 25, but it could be anything.
Yeah, and the other thing I think about is, you know, that is part of your daily duties. So I don't know if we can really take that into account as something that you're taking time from, because that is part of your daily duties. It should be part of your time that you're already being paid for. It just so happens you're doing this license or that license for it. So those are my thoughts on it.
Okay.
Typically, you're looking at fees and saying, okay, this is a cost that the state allows us to collect funds on, and we should collect funds in relationship to that because everything else is kind of limited. So they're pretty much telling you, hey, this is where you have your opportunity to generate revenues in relationship to some of your costs. And that, so she's done a job of saying, and most of the communities have said, hey, the average that we have is somewhere in this category, and she's at the bottom of it. And we're not the cheapest community out there for any one of the issues that are involved. So I would say that $25 is probably the minimum, not the high.
No, and I understand that, and I understand where you're coming from on that, but just because you can, and that is an avenue that the state gives you, does that mean you should do it on a specific class of people in your community?
I mean,
Well, I put my name on it, and I agreed to the 25 looking at, I mean, this is an application, it's not a class of people, it's a job they're looking to get, and work that has to be done to do background checks and do the paperwork, and.
But it is a class of people.
Right.
It's a class of worker.
We-
They do a specific job that not
That needs-
everybody
right.
does. Yeah,
Needs a application.
exactly.
Or background check,
Yep.
and some other stuff done.
so we
So-
charge fees for all kinds of things.
Yeah,
But
electrical
we shouldn't
licenses
be making
and,
money on it. That's just my take on
Launched a
it.
boat lately?
No, and that's why I agreed to the 25. I don't believe we're making money at
I
it.
don't-
No, and I don't think we are either, but that's,
know.
I'd just like to see what that,
I do think
Yes.
Cambridge at 60 might be,
I think they are.
but yeah, I felt like 25 was fair. So, but if
Yeah.
you have a different number, the reason it's got 3 readings. I mean, if there's something
Yep,
you want to
yep,
change.
and that's why I just put that out there,
Okay.
because it just, I would like us to make sure we cross our Ts, dot our Is, make sure that we're looking at it from every angle and not just arbitrarily saying a number. And I know you're not doing that with the 25, but I just want to make sure we look at everything before we come out and say 25 is our number, because maybe it is 30. And that's going to be a big shock for the people that have to come in and put their next application in. But
I think most of these people work in other communities. That's not, or own businesses in other communities, it's not a shock to see,
Yeah,
because I know, like Bill Later, he's in multiple communities. Several of the grocery stores have experience across multiples, same with the bars. So it's not, and a lot of these people attend bar here and in Cambridge and
Right.
in,
I just don't want the impression in a community to be, well, we saw that the other communities are doing it, so we're gonna move to that also.
And I
That's-
actually looked at the other communities after we had looked at the research of when the fees were put in place. And I think it was in the early 70s. It was $5 for 1 year. So really, there hasn't been any increase ever that we could find. I know Vicki and I both looked and we went back to handwritten minutes trying to see
Yeah.
where they started. And I looked at the other ones just to show a comparison of what the other communities, even at the 25, that's still lower than what anybody else is at around us in this direct area.
Well,
If you
you're
took the
talking
inflation
about
rate on-
If you're talking $7 for a background check, you're talking $13 for a license, which is a $3 increase. I don't, as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay that $7 to have you have a background check. That's your responsibility. Just like it is when you have a background check for a license or anything else.
Right, but who
So-
set that ordinance that they have to have the background check?
that's state law.
Hey,
And the state says, hey, you can recover your costs by fees here. I think, let's look at it a different way. It was $5 in 1970.
And that was for a 1-year license.
If
They
we
just
take the
switched it.
inflation rate every year since that year that it was implemented and see what it ends up being, it won't be $5, it won't be $25. It will
No,
be
I
somewhere
think-
around
I-
$100
Yeah, I
bucks.
personally think $25 is more than reasonable.
yeah,
I
honestly,
mean,
I
I'm paying
still
20
think it's
bucks
too
a
much.
year to launch my boat,
Yeah,
so, and you.
I think
you
it's
know,
too
you
much to.
Pay
to
$15 for
to-
your doggy.
To pay to go in and work. I still think it's too much. It's like working, having unions, paying union dues. I still think it's too much, but that's my opinion.
So in other words, you feel that since we're not doing, what you're asking is to see what the cost is, right?
Yes, I would like to see
And
what the
if
cost
it
is, what's
turns
our
out
break
that,
even.
if it turns out that the cost is more than the 25, then the rest of us would be paying for the difference. And I don't think that's okay either. So
No.
I think we'll have to wait and see.
And that's all I'm asking. And if it's more, then we consider more.
So,
But then again, I do think that that is part of the job they're already being paid for.
so we have a couple options here. You take the average time that the lowest paid police officer puts into it, plus all other persons who touch it on an average.
You know, and honestly, the more I think about it, you really can't even take that into account because they're already being paid to do that part of that job.
Yeah, but again, you're authorized to recover some of
So it's
those
like getting
costs.
tips
What-
as a waitress. That's what you're looking this at.
Yeah, but then that gives you money to put to something else because this is specific to a regulated industry. So that any money you generate then allows you to spend somewhere else. All the money that you're putting here then takes away from something else you would do. So let's consider how we generate revenue, what our options are, and how much cost we're putting into it.
Okay, well, this is just the first reading, let's,
I'm not done yet.
Oh,
I
I'm
didn't
sorry.
get to make my comment. One of the things that I want to clarify, first of all, we're going from having a 1-year license to having a 2-year license, right? Or at least,
We currently have a 2-year license.
oh, okay.
So when,
It's just that the 2-year license was $10 and now we're proposing
and-
25.
as far back as 1971, I could find that it was $5 for a 1-year license. And then in 1997, it went to a 2-year license, and they just
Okay.
doubled the fee to $10. So it was still $5 per year, but it just took out that extra
Okay.
administrative in the in-between. So
Now-
it's currently 2 years for $10.
Then other cities, take for instance Jefferson on our list here. They have 1-year licenses and 2-year licenses. If you have a 1-year license, then in the next year you have to renew it again. So their 1-year license, you have to double to be equal to our 2-year license, correct?
Yes.
So like in Jefferson, it would be $50 for 2 years. In Cambridge, it would be $60 for 2 years. In Johnson Creek, it'll be $50 for 2 years. In Waterloo, it's 2 years is $60. And in the town of Lake Mills, 2 years would be $60. So all of those are significantly above. Now, I agree that we don't want to do it for the sake, but if it turns out that we have the cost, we're way behind what's normal in the area. So I think we need to look at the price, and I think it should go anywhere but down. It should go up. Then I think 25 is too low, personally.
All right, again, this is the first reading, so let's do our homework and we'll move this to the second reading. And item 9, any recommendations for future agendas?
I can tell you that the next agenda is probably going to be the longest one we've seen in a while, or will see for a while.
And
Disapproved.
why is that?
Just ended up with a lot of things that came together for that meeting.
Okay.
Well,
And we'll have the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. DOT is asking us to waive our right to consideration on right-of-way acquisition. They want us to give them some right-of-way in Commons Park for the highway project. What else is there, Misty? There are two fund transfers.
Yes.
And then the budget hearings.
Okay. Yeah. We'll just have to deal with that when we come to it.
When will we be doing our closed session evaluation meeting?
December. First meeting in December.
First meeting in December? Okay.
and
And
then,
Rudy, when do you want us to give you us our things back by?
Oh, I'd like to have them by the middle of November for sure.
Okay.
That's possible.
Oh, yeah, anything's possible.
Okay.
We get them yet?
Yeah, we got them already. It got mailed to us.
Yeah. Put a brown envelope.
It came with, what
Came
was
with-
that other thing that was in that
remember seeing
envelope?
Expense
A
spared.
closed confidential thing or
Remember seeing
something?
it.
Fire department, I think. It came
I
with
don't
that.
recall.
I don't remember seeing it.
If you find that you don't have it, we can certainly generate it
I'll
again
look
for you.
around.
Okay.
it's the same eval we've been using, right, for the last,
Yeah,
Right, it's the same format.
don't think, I got the fire stuff, but I
well,
did not.
it was mailed in a separate envelope, wasn't it? Or was it with with,
No, it was.
I think it was mailed with an agenda
yeah, maybe
for,
For
with
the
our last meeting?
October
No,
13th
Two
agenda.
meetings ago.
Yeah.
right.
Because I know two
Okay.
meetings ago.
So if there's no other business, I'll call this meeting adjourned.
All right.